I'm about to share with you all the ins and outs of the miracle weight loss medication technology called Tirzepatide, aka Mounjaro. And today I'm going to be walking you through all about what I've learned about this miracle weight loss medication. Also, at any time, please feel free to go ahead and click right down below or head over to midsectionmelt.com to claim your complimentary midsection treatment and your clinical consultation with us, where if we don't deliver you measurable results on the spot, we'll actually pay you $50 for your time. Hey, it's Trev Bucheri, America's favorite weight loss and targeted fat loss expert. With my personalized, data-driven program, I've already helped over 25,000 patients lose well over 500,000 pounds and reshape their midsection, their thighs, and their upper arms. And now I'm here to share these same transformation secrets with you. And in this podcast, I'm going to share with you all the ins and outs of that miracle weight loss medication technology called Tirzepatide. So let's get started. So first things first, I want to be very, very clear here. I am not a doctor. I had the incredible opportunity to sit down with our company's board certified practitioner, along with several other practitioners who are colleagues of mine, who were generous enough to allow me to pick their brains on this amazing medication technology. And I wanted to share my takeaways with you of what I've learned. So first things first, I want to cover this. What is Mounjaro compared to Tirzepatide? What do the two mean? Well, Mounjaro is actually considered a brand name. That's actually just a brand, and Tirzepatide is the active ingredient inside of Mounjaro. So Tirzepatide alone is actually considered just that, Tirzepatide. And the difference is that one is branded and one is actually considered generic. So Mounjaro is the actual brand name, but the active ingredient inside of it is Tirzepatide, and Tirzepatide is Tirzepatide. Do they do the same thing? Absolutely, they do the same thing. So let's talk about this. So what is Tirzepatide? Here comes the science. Tirzepatide is a new medication technology, and it was developed by a guy named Eli Lilly and Company. Let's talk about what it's known for. So technology inside of Tirzepatide is what's known as a GIP and a GLP-1 receptor agonist. That is actually what the actual medication is. And GIP stands for glucose-dependent insulinotropic polypeptide, and GLP-1 stands for glucagon-like peptide 1. Okay, so big fancy names, but we'll be referring to them now as GIP and GLP-1. So how it works is that our bodies actually naturally produce what's called GLP-1 and GIP hormones, originating actually in the small intestines, which what these do is they actually control our blood glucose levels, and they actually let us know when we're full when we're eating, but many times we're not actually able to make enough of this, or it actually just doesn't work properly. And this is where the actual Tirzepatide medication comes into play. And then for weight loss, what it does is it actually slows down what's called gastric emptying, so that you actually feel fuller longer on a smaller amount of food. So overall, we actually don't feel like we're eating more than we need, which actually makes us eat less, and therefore we're able to lose weight. So let's talk about what it does. All right, so first things first, it does something that's called, it enhances insulin secretion. All right, so what is that? So insulin is a hormone that really helps regulate our blood sugar levels by bringing glucose or sugar into the cells. And many patients, and many people, I should say, are resistant to insulin. And many times the pancreas can't really produce enough to properly lower our blood sugar levels. And this is where Tirzepatide comes into play. Tirzepatide is able to actually enhance the secretion to actually resolve this challenge. Pretty cool. Another thing that it does is it enhances insulin sensitivity. So many times people have circumstances where their cells aren't as responsive to insulin as we'd like them to be, which leads to actually poor glucose transport into the actual cells themselves. That the sugar cannot actually get transported and brought into the cell and can't go into the cell so the cell can actually utilize it. And therefore, we have high blood sugar levels, and Tirzepatide resolves that as well. Tirzepatide really allows the cells to better respond to insulin, which helps to lower blood sugar levels. In other words, the cells can now take the actual glucose, which the insulin is bringing to it, utilize that, and take it out of the blood, and now the blood sugar drops, which is great. Another thing Tirzepatide does is it suppresses glucagon secretion. So glucagon is another hormone. It's actually created in the pancreas, and the role of it is increasing blood sugar levels, which is kind of a little bit counterintuitive to what we're looking for here. So when we have high blood sugar, for example, after a meal, glucagon signals for a release of stored glucose from the liver to actually then go into the bloodstream. Now, with people, say, with type 2 diabetes or those with higher blood sugar levels to begin with, this is not what we want. It's counterintuitive to that. And Tirzepatide helps to resolve that. So it actually helps to prevent this excessive release. It prevents that excessive release of glucose from the liver into the bloodstream, and it actually further controls the blood sugar level and regulates it to a lower degree, as opposed to when we get that stored glucose from the liver and it goes in, that would actually raise the blood sugar higher, which is what we don't want. Another thing tirzepatide does is for weight loss, and what it does, and we talked about this briefly, is it slows the digestion of food. That's really what it does. It slows down the digestion of food, and it slows down what's called gastric emptying. So we actually have the gastrointestinal system, and that's the actual flow of the food going through our system, and what it does is it slows down that process. Of course, we're still digesting and absorbing properly with that, but it just slows it down, and we're able to actually be satisfied on less, and therefore we don't need as much to actually feel satiated, to actually feel satisfied. When we're eating a meal, it's more like, oh, you know what, I'm actually good. It's not like, oh my gosh, I shouldn't eat anymore. We're actually good to go, and that's what it does. So psychologically, it changes the relationship with food, as opposed to, oh, I really shouldn't. You're now more in that area of, you know what, I'm totally good. I'm satisfied. I actually feel great with what I just ate right there, and I have no need to eat anymore. Great feeling. So let's talk about the benefits of tirzepatide. So improved glycemic control. So we just talked about that, the glucose control, and this is referring to tirzepatide's ability to really enhance insulin secretion and also insulin sensitivity. It increases that as well. Weight loss is another benefit. Cardiovascular benefits. So this is really interesting. So there's other GLP-1 receptor agonists, and one is called semaglutide. You may know it as Ozempic, but tirzepatide has actually been shown to have cardiovascular benefits along with these other GLP-1 receptor agonists by reducing the risk of cardiovascular events with patients who have type 2 diabetes or those who actually have cardiovascular disease to begin with. So really cool thing. And then it also has what's called a synergistic effect. So other GLP-1 receptor agonists like semaglutide, like we talked about, Ozempic, they're actually just the GLP-1 side of things, whereas this has the GLP-1 and the GIP. So the GLP-1 is great with the glucose regulation, but it's not as great with the appetite satiation type portion of the thing. And the addition of the GIP along with the GLP-1 is a very, very strong advantage with that, with up to about a 60% better effective weight loss result with tirzepatide compared to, say, a semaglutide, which is just the GLP-1. And again, tirzepatide has the GLP-1 plus the GIP receptor agonists in there. So it is the most advanced medication technology there is. So let's talk about what are the side effects that we want to know about this. So gastrointestinal issues. This is really the main thing. So tirzepatide is much less in terms of side effects than the older medication, the older GLP-1 medications such as semaglutide. So many patients would get nausea, diarrhea, and constipation to begin with, and then they would acclimate and they would regulate. So this can still happen with tirzepatide, but they've really put a lot of attention as they've been advancing the technology. Tirzepatide is really the newest medication technology after semaglutide, and so they've really put a lot of attention into this. So yes, some patients do get some nausea, diarrhea, or constipation to begin with, but they acclimate very, very quickly, and it's far less cases than the prior, like the semaglutides as well with this, okay? So hypoglycemia is another thing as well, which is low blood sugar. So some type 2 diabetic patients who are on their type 2 diabetic medications, they may experience some hypoglycemia or low blood sugar, and they may have to actually have their diabetic medication lowered because of the additional assistance in the blood sugar regulation that tirzepatide is now providing for them. And then the third one here is really just very, very typical of any type of injection. Now, we are using an insulin needle here, so it's a very, very thin gauge needle that you really wouldn't even feel, but sometimes there is injection site reaction. So this is really going to be another, there may be some redness or irritation. However, cleaning the injection site prior with an alcohol swab is really the best combatant here, and typically any redness is going to clear very, very quickly. So there it is. Now you know all the ins and outs of the miracle weight loss medication technology called Tirzepatide. So thank you so much for joining me. Go ahead, click down below or head over to midsectionmelt.com to claim your complimentary midsection treatment and your clinical consultation with us, where if we don't deliver you measurable results on the spot, we'll actually pay you $50 for your time. And also, I'd so appreciate if you please follow or subscribe. Again, I'm Trevor Bucheri. Thank you so much for investing your time with me today, and give your best to the rest of your day. Take care.